Shalom, and welcome to a message for the Parsha for Parshat Vayechi. Today, Friday, as we're about to enter this Shabbat, the Shabbat of Vayechi is also known around the entire world as New Year's Day. And of course, the question is, how do we meaning Jews, how do we treat this day? Do we acknowledge it? Do we greet each other, wish each other with a Happy New Year or not? So I'm going to share a true story with you that happened to an individual whose name was Rabbi Shalom, or he's known by his English name, Rabbi Sidney Hecht. He was at an audience with the Rebbe. Now from the story, I surmise that this was somewhere in the early 50s. He was at an audience with the Rebbe, a private audience that is, in the Rebbe's study, on the night of New Year's Eve. And as the clock struck 12, the Rebbe turned to him and said, "Sidney, Happy New Year." And he was taken aback. He was bewildered. The Rebbe acknowledging this secular day, this non-Jewish New Year. So the Rebbe said to him, "I want you to know that the holy, saintly rabbi, the famous Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, who I must tell you was known, I'm telling you this, it was known as the great defender of the Jewish people. He was the biggest advocate, even or especially for those who didn't seem to have any whatsoever merit, any whatsoever credit on the surface. He always knew how to dig deeper and find the good in every single Jew. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev will go around to the people of his community on the day of New Year's and wish them a Happy New Year. And he qualified it with saying that there's a verse in the book of Psalms. The Pasuk says, and this is in chapter 87, verse 6, it says, Hashem yispor bichtov amim. God counts, if you translate it literally, God counts in the writing of the nations. That means when the nations write in their books, when it's written in their protocol that now the year is no longer 2020, now it switched to 2021, Hashem takes note of it. But there's something deeper. Again, which Rabbi Levi Yitzchak explained. And that is, now these are not the words that Rebbe shared with him, but I'm telling you the second half of the story. That is that Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev, in his great love, in his passionate desire to always bring out the good in every Jew, and in Jews in general, he intentionally went around wishing Happy New Year to everyone. It's not a New Year. It's not real. We know when the real New Year is. The real New Year is when the Torah says is New Year's. Rosh Hashanah, or the first day of Nisan, which is a kind of New Year as we begin to count the sequence of the months from there, because that's the month when we became a nation, when we left Egypt. But otherwise, the 1st of January, what is that? That's nothing. Today is no different than yesterday and no different than tomorrow, as far as Jewish law, as far as Jewish outlook is concerned. So why did he do it? Because he wanted to highlight, he wanted to bring out the contrast between the real New Year, the Jewish New Year, and how a Jew behaves on his New Year, and how the Goy, the non-Jew, behaves on his New Year. When you think of New Year's, the secular New Year, what comes to mind? Revelry, drinking, downing booze, wildness, promiscuity. In my mind, I can tell you something that this year I didn't see. Perhaps I didn't look, or because of COVID. But all the years, as you wake up in the morning in America, already in the middle of the night, in places like the United Kingdom, in England, it's already the morning. And they already have all the pictures of all these young people dressed very classically, dressed very fancy, rolling in the streets, women, men, drunk, or videos of people who can barely stand on their feet or just falling over. That's the image of New Year's? That's what a New Year's is? Or is it Rosh Hashanah, where even the Jew that unfortunately doesn't capitalize on their Jewishness, doesn't practice the entire year their Judaism. But it comes Rosh Hashanah, they wake up. This is a serious day. This is a special day. Each in their own way, whether it's if they do go to synagogue or not. What do? There's some expression of connectivity to Hashem, some expression of prayer, of request to Hashem. Please help me, give me a better year, and some resolution to whatever degree, to whatever level of I'm going to be a better person, I'm going to be a better Jew this year. That is what Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev was trying to highlight. And that's why he ran around saying Happy New Year. So on that note, I say to you too, Happy New Year, or Happy Fiscal New Year. May it be a better one. May it be a fantastic fiscal year. Certainly not only in contrast to 2020, but even to the best year that you have, best fiscal year that you ever had up until now. And interesting, on that note, I want to add the special connection to the Parsha of the week. Because this Parsha, this week, is Vayechi. Vayechi Yaakov. And Yaakov lived. It just tells us Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. But then immediately it segues to what happened before Yaakov passed away. How he blessed his children and grandchildren. And how he passes away and how he was buried. The whole funeral procession and everything attached to it. So this Parsha is really not about Yaakov's life. It's about his passing, his death. It's about his afterlife. What happened to him after he was dead. So why is it that the name of the Parsha is Vayechi? And of course the answer is because the true proof of a life, the true hallmark of what a real, genuine life is, the life of a Jew, the life of a tzaddik, the life of a righteous, pious person, is when this life is not just a physical, material life. When this life is not just a life that one lives, eating, sleeping, and going about the mundane things. Because between me and you, that also an animal does. An animal can also do that. But when one has good deeds, when one has quality in their life, when one has purpose, meaning in their life, and the best proof of that is when one leaves a legacy like Yaakov left. Yaakov left a legacy of the children that he left and the generations to come. That's me and you. That's us. That we continue and carry on his legacy and his teachings. That is why this Parsha is called Vayechi. How apropos for such a day to understand what is really the meaning of a new year, a new life, a new day for that matter, to have real purpose, real meaning. Shabbat Shalom.